You're listening to For Wales, See Wales. And if you want to know what's going on in Welsh politics at the moment, you're in exactly the right place. But for the time being, just give us a minute to hear from our sponsors.
Mel, you are from a farming background.
I am a farmer.
Now, I, in my youth, actually worked on a farm doing hay baling.
Isn't that such a fun time of the year?
It is a fun time of the year.
I love that, yes.
Actually living up to my name as well.
Yeah.
But
So you got your name.
So I got my name. But what I did notice, so we used to put them in the barn, and then next to the barn there was this other area, and I didn't really realise how many chemicals are stored on farms. It is, I mean, they're industrial chemicals, aren't they? It's an industry. It's lots. So not only do you need to store them a way that they can't be stolen, but you also need to store them safely, because a lot of these are really in the wrong hands. They are hazardous. They're hazardous chemicals. Now, one of the places that you can store them is a purposely modified and designed lion container. So, great thing about the modifications, it's not that expensive to modify a container to make it perfect for storing chemicals. But what you can also do is put in a special floor whereby you can wash it out, you can clean it out, you can properly detoxify. I'm going to say that's a word. Detoxify.
That's absolutely, love that.
So any chemical stores are required to meet specific Environment Agency and Health and Safety Executive recommendations. And doing that this is not something you want to just take a punt at and have a guess.
No, you're not having a go and see what happens really when it comes to chemicals.
Yeah, I think you don't want to buy the containers that I sell, because they are not safe.
Yeah, 100%.
Hands up for that. They're cheap, but they are.
Yeah, you're getting burned by the chemicals, right?
And the rest.
If line containers don't have any particular ones in stock, they can modify an existing one, and they can create that purposely designed for what you need and what you're looking for. So if you do want to do that and you work in agriculture, I suggest you go to lioncontainers.co.uk.
What was that?
That was lioncontainers.co.uk.
One more time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of For Wales, See Wales with me, Mel Owen.
Me, Robin Morgan.
Me, Will Hayward.
We're all together. How's it going?
Pretty good, thank you.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I enjoyed last week. I enjoyed going through my trauma of trolling.
Yes, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Not because, trauma trolling is not something that I get joy from, but I enjoyed how ridiculous they were.
Agreed. We spoke about it on the way home afterwards,
We did.
and we were sort of like, we're glad Will's getting through it this way by talking about it. We were very sort of profound, and we're such good friends. Like, really, really good.
Guess how many of our listeners got in touch about it? 0.
Essentially. That is so funny.
Do better.
No. I respect it. I respect it.
The best bit is my mum listens to this.
Although I did see one YouTube comment, and we're not going to threaten to kill this one. Like, we do take criticism fairly well.
Do we?
And a lot of them are so lovely. I love our YouTube family.
Do you know
I think
what?
they're so lovely.
They've got really, there's some really funny comments on it now.
Yeah.
There was one guy though, and I love this for many reasons, but there was one that just was like, Will, this isn't a good podcast. And what I love is just like the disappointment, but also the fact that he blames that solely on Will.
I'm just dragging you guys down.
It's like, Will, this isn't a good podcast.
That's so funny. Oh, I really like that.
Like, not rude.
Yeah, absolutely. Horses for courses. Like everyone likes different things. That's fine. Like it's I think something personally I've got better at over the last 2 years is basically realizing that not everyone likes you. That's fine, isn't it? And it's very cathartic to go, you can't please everyone all the time, and that's fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
I will kill you.
But also lock your doors.
I really enjoyed the guy who just went, there's too much substance on this episode for me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. We've been saying it for weeks.
Yeah. No, I love the comment section. Keep it coming. I think it's a really nice space.
Yeah.
Generally. And also it's really good to know what people find, what they find interesting. People adding their own anecdotes to certain topics that we've discussed, either like policy or whatever, I think it's really good.
One thing I think we should do is get in some, if people want to ask questions, voice notes would be really fun as well to sort of like play people's questions in. What number are we giving out?
Whose number are we giving out?
So Will's is 07.
Or send them to our Instagram. We can play them that way.
Okay. Mel normally monitors the Instagram, so do you want to open yourself up for...
Well, to VNs?
To be fair, if people are listening, only people listening to this will know to send their voice notes. It's not
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't just be like, how's your day? What's your favourite colour? Like, with love, don't care. Just be like, talk about the podcast,
Yeah.
Talk about me, okay?
Voice notes personally to Mel.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's voice note us.
Yeah, good, love that.
You guys know who I mean when I say Ken Skates.
The Transport Secretary, Ken Skates.
Wow.
Oh, it's because he's been Transport Secretary twice, and it's hilarious because his surname is Skates. I've been obsessed with this man for nearly a decade.
He's very good at keeping in line.
Yeah, very good. I know Ken. Good face, right? He's got a strong face.
Killer teeth and smile.
Yeah. I can't remember. I imagine he's almost like a cartoon picture of a man.
Yeah, he's like a caricature of himself.
Yes, good face.
Yeah, great face.
Really good face.
He's a bit. Imagine if you were like
49. He looks great.
He does look good. He runs a lot. I see him running.
There you go.
So he did a put down in the Senate, and I thought it was. I mean, everything in the Senate is just a little bit lame, isn't it? Like it's very hard for politicians to be like.
But that is the description of this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, it's politics. Everything's just a bit lame.
Everything's a bit lame.
But there was a bit where he was being asked about the tourism tax, which we've discussed in previous episodes, and he's been asked this by an MS called Gareth Davies, who is I want to say a rambunctious character.
Is he the one who did the social clip of him walking outside the Principality Stadium criticising the tourist tax but linking it to Oasis? Did you see this?
No.
Oh, he did this amazing social clip where, look, walking and talking on camera is not for everyone. It's certainly not for Gareth, because it is the most awkward walk where he's kind of like, basically, that the take that they put out, I imagine, was going to be, okay, that's great, and now should we do another one where you feel a bit more comfortable doing it? It felt like Gareth's like, no, I'm a one-take wonder, and I'm going to smash this.
I'm desperately trying to find this now.
It's the most sort of awkward walk. Oasis are here in Cardiff, and tourism, and this, and bad. It's pretty piss poor.
Oh, pretty piss
But it's been subtitled beautifully.
Well, there you go.
Well done, their social media manager.
Yeah, fair play. What party?
I think the Conservatives.
He is Conservatives. Oh my God, I've got it.
I've never heard of this man.
Okay. This is. Oh my God.
I have seen this man.
I'm seeing this for the first time.
Oh, great.
So let me.
Fantastic to be outside the Principality Stadium here in Cardiff today. Why am I here, you ask? Well, on Friday night, Oasis kick off their reunion tour.
Why is rigor mortis set in?
Since they've last come together, done a tour, released a single. Given that the biggest rock band in the world, so many people from around the world are going to be visiting Cardiff over the next few days to mark this great occasion. Labour and Plaid Cymru's tourism tax that they passed in the Senedd yesterday is a slap in the face of what we're trying to achieve here in Wales. We've got to draw off good examples such as this as what Wales can offer, and it's great that Oasis chose Cardiff to kick off their reunion tour. We've got to be drawing off.
Yeah.
The first 10 seconds are absolutely spectacular.
The opening of the hands.
Opening of the hands are great.
Moses.
As he walks away from the stadium, look what's in the bottom right-hand corner as he walks past it. Okay.
Fantastic to be outside the Principality Stadium here in Cardiff today. Why am I here, you ask? Well, on Friday night, Oasis
just their bags that they've left on the floor. Just buy some bins.
I left the bag by a bin.
Just the kit, just the backpack. Should we move Is the backpack in shot? Yeah, but I don't think anyone will notice.
No one's going to know.
I think it's fine.
I mean, it's fine.
Like,
no, I do kind of feel sorry for him.
It's good, isn't it?
There should have been someone on his team went, Gaz, not for you.
What were the other? What were the other takes?
Yeah. No, I think what was wrong. I think he went, I just smashed it.
Yeah.
Like, I know I stumbled across the word Cardiff 2 times, but I think they all know what I mean.
I could host the X Factor live. Am I Dermot O'Leary?
Oh my God.
What? I mean, the outtakes that they didn't use, was it just him facing away from the camera?
Yeah. I think a bird shat on him halfway through.
Just facing the complete opposite direction.
Oh gosh. Even the point he's made. Okay.
Well, this is it, right? So there was a put down in the Senedd, and I'm guessing star of stage and screen, Gareth, had a similar thing of saying the tourism tax is going to put off all these brilliant people coming to Wales. Is that his point?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So the people who sat for 7 hours in a queue on Ticketmaster for Oasis tickets, spending their life savings, we're going to go £2.50 extra. Fuck that. Sorry, Plaid Cymru. No, thank
That's
you.
the surcharge I'm not willing to pay.
I also enjoyed him saying, this goes against what we're trying to do in Wales. You're not doing shit at all, mate. Your party's like as far from government as like our party. Like for Wales, see Wales is about as likely to form a government as...
should we form a party?
We absolutely should not form a party.
No.
Let's play what he asked inside the Senate. So he asked this to the evergreen Ken Skates.
What discussions has he had with the Cabinet Secretary for the Economy about the potential economic impact of this tax to the North Wales economy and how this will be mitigated by the Welsh Government?
I actually went over to Conwy as well, which is a fabulous place too, and you'll be aware that it has the smallest house in the world on the seafront there, and I was told that your party is going to be holding your post-election conference at that in the porchway of that particular tourist attraction next to it.
Even Gareth loves it.
I love that he's kind of just going, banter.
Yeah.
Senate banter.
Very good.
It wasn't bad. Do you know what? That wasn't bad. As far as politician put-downs go, it's up there.
On my TikTok, occasionally I keep seeing like House of Commons best put-down stuff. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know what, like, this shows what my algorithm is, right?
Yeah.
It's just loads of House. But that's good.
Put it on.
That'd be in there.
Is it those kind of TikToks they'll show like a put-down and they're like, "Drrrr," and the next one, "Drrrr."
Yeah.
I think
what you need is that sort of meme with the glasses and the
when it comes out with the cigarette.
Yeah. That's not a cigarette, Mel. That's a naughty cigarette.
Is it?
Well,
I've never seen one.
Okay.
No.
Fair enough.
I was at Bristol Carnival or something. And there were none there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think what I will say about Gareth, I don't want to... I feel bad taking the piss at someone who's delivering it, because you guys are much more accomplished broadcasters than I am. I haven't had like broadcast training. And it's taken me a while. I'm not saying I'm particularly good at it yet, but it takes time to get good at that speaking to camera on the move. But also, he is a politician who is inside our parliament. Like, if that was a member of parliament, an MP, can you imagine what Have I Got News for You would do on it?
Exactly.
They'd do a whole bit on it.
I think a bit of me feels then guilty. This is a man trying to do his job and he's doing it quite badly, in fairness. But, he's trying.
This is worse for him than just telling jokes about him.
Yeah,
he's doing his job badly and I feel sorry for him. That's worse. That's like, let's see you as a friend. You're like a little brother. It's that sort of thing.
For those of you who haven't seen it, he is just walking very slowly with his arms by his sides.
Somebody who's put themselves and said, I want to be a politician, I want to represent people. They've put themselves out there, not for hatred and not for vitriol and not for malice, but also we should be allowed to expect them to be kind of good at their jobs. And when they're falling short of that, I think it's okay to hold them to account. I just don't think you can go in the same way as a random man on the street who hasn't put himself up to the electorate to be like, I should represent you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? But also, like, we're in this brave new world now where politicians, you see Robert Jenrick doing it, and he was, I think he publicly sort of wanted to find, it was either him or, who was it? It was another Tory politician, it might have been Tom Tugendhat, who put a call out for a social media manager to try and, basically the whole idea was to try and sort of do a Jenrick. I feel like within the Conservative Party, these clips of Robert Jenrick on the tube, like, getting people who aren't, have you seen those videos of him, manhandling people who aren't, like, paying fares?
Yeah.
I think that's what certainly the Conservative Party are trying to do in Westminster. So I think, and Plaid Llŷn is quite good on his social media in terms of like, so he's got a good team. You're doing your job. We shouldn't really take the piss. Everyone is trying well. You don't need to do this.
No, you don't.
This is trying to sort of reach into a different demographic. Yeah. And I think that like anything online, if you try and jump on that, you are going to get ripped to shreds.
I mean, ultimately, like quite a small part of an MS's job can be doing social media videos. There's an argument that in today's world they need to be better at communicating to people and explaining what they're trying to do. But I also think from our point of view, it's perfectly within our rights to take the piss out of it.
Oh, yeah, it's funny as fuck.
Yeah.
I can't believe how much time we've done on Gareth Davies. But do you want to see?
I didn't know who he was.
Do you want? Well, the first time he really came to my attention was when he stormed out of the Senate. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Yeah. He entered the rage cage. Look at this.
Let's just carry on. We can take this up afterwards. We can take it up afterwards. But listen, let me tell you.
So just to explain what happened there, Leonard Morgan is taking questions. He is asking a question in the Senate. He's taken his little plastic lectern and thrown it on the floor. Let's continue.
Can we have some order, please? No, can we have some
some order. Do you want to listen to?
He's now getting up and leaving.
The response from the minister.
Well, she hasn't moved.
No. She's
got the decency to respond. Then come on, let's have it.
Oh, he's slammed a file.
Let's have it.
Let's have it.
I'm tired of this.
Can I have some quiet, please?
Blaming all the time.
No, I'm sure we want to. I think some people are leaving at this point. I'm going to ask the minister.
They are, Ellen. They are.
Question, please. And I'll ask all members to be quiet in order to listen.
Oh.
Okay, let's just. Should we try? No point of order.
Can we just try and move on? I'm happy to move on.
There is
He's not even left. He hasn't even followed through on his promises.
Sat back down, hasn't he? Don't worry, it gets better.
Question because things have gone out of order. You had your chance, Gareth Davies. I'll ask you if you want to leave quietly now. If you want.
I will leave, and it's an affront to
democracy. It's not you've asked all your questions. It's in no way.
It's an affront to democracy.
Yeah, great. Elizabeth Morgan isn't even turning around to look at him as this happens.
You will apologise to the chair before you are allowed to re-enter this chamber, and I will expect that apology soon. I am moving on now to question 3, Sarah Murphy. I'll take a point of order at the end.
I will expect that apology soon.
Oh, well, that's not a red flag at all.
It had two things for me, that entire thing. Firstly, Ellen did a wonderful job. It was like when someone's getting kicked out of a comedy gig and you're on stage and you've kind of got to still be funny without the fear of them still running up to attack you, but the security are dragging them out, and you kind of just need to describe what's happening.
Yeah, you do a running comment. I had this on Friday night.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
I had to do a running commentary of a guy who was being thrown out, and he wasn't going like gladly, and it was a bit of a rough and tumble, and I was like, oh gosh, well, I hope he's got anxiety in the morning. You know, and everyone else is like frightened for their lives, and then afterwards you've got to be like, it's all good.
Well, that was awkward, and then sort of get back into it.
So fair play to her. I do not envy that job at all.
But the you will apologise before you can come back in here. Feels like an empty promise that I tell my kids.
Yeah.
But like, you need to apologise to me and your mother, otherwise there'll be no dinner. As I've spent 3 hours making a beautiful sauce for my children to go. Well, they have to eat it, so I hope they do apologise.
Or there'll be no Christmas. I feel please
just some of the
apologise.
empty promises.
Yeah.
What you actually probably couldn't pick up on the audio is, I think it was Alan Davies, the Labour MS, going, people are scared for their safety.
What?
Sincerely, he said that, or he's taking the piss?
Yeah.
He's unserious.
I mean, I think,
as a politician.
I think
No, he is.
we
I'm
have
gonna
thrown
say it.
so much shade.
Yeah, I like this.
Basically, all I wanted to do was start the podcast with a little bit of mocking of Gareth Davies, and now I feel like we've totally character assassinated him.
The little the screen, it wasn't
The little plastic
it was a
lectern.
plastic lectern, was very, very sweet.
The one thing I will say on behalf of Gareth Davies, which I do think is better than quite a few of politicians you see, is you can see he's quite emotionally led, and can be.
Yeah, but that was a tantrum.
It was.
Okay, sorry, Rachel Reeves cried in the chamber last week out of frustration, this, that and the other. She was clearly upset and people have dragged her to fuck for it. This man had a tantrum. Right, that was my emotion. That is, I'm not getting my way. I'm going to slam my lectern. If a woman had done that, she'd have been unfit. She'd been hysterical. She'd be unfit to be a politician. He's slamming a lectern. He's slamming his file to get attention.
It was an affront to democracy.
It was and I put my hands up to that.
That's a given, Will.
What did you think?
I love that this happened in 2022. And our topical comedy podcast is
like, on then.
No, we've got a lot to work
then.
through. We've got 25 years to work through. I think that is a red flag, and now that I know this, I think everything we said about the earlier video was completely justified.
It's a bit of I think using that physicality thing is a bit of a thing, isn't it? Like slamming things, making a bit of a scene. It is a bit of a red flag.
Yeah, it is. And if that's the way that you get your point across, you actually are not fit to be a politician. Boom.
What do you say about that, Will? You big Gareth defender.
As the guy that slams his
I'm
microphone.
a renowned advocate.
The Welsh Conservative. You always stick up the Welsh Tories.
I'm always on the side of the Welsh Conservative Party.
Wearing blue as you always fucking do, Will.
I hate this. For our audio listeners, Robin has just removed his blue shirt.
For continuity.
Yeah,
this is going to
wrestling
ruin
it
it.
off.
Good luck with the clips, Daryl.
Did he apologise for that?
Soon.
Soon?
I believe he did.
Put it back on if you want, No one's going to think you were talking. That's very light. Who's light blue? Reform? What colour of reform?
Reform light blue.
There we go.
I will put it back on then.
What's Mel?
A white with a bit of blue.
Yeah.
But is
that your new party?
That's the new. This could be Corbyn's party. Who knows?
Remind me about the new party, Will. Is it actually going ahead? Didn't Corbyn say we're not actually joining it?
Right. I actually think we should do a little bit on this. So let's talk about Jeremy Corbyn's new, perhaps a party. Do you know Zara Sultana?
Yes.
Yeah.
So she is the MP in Coventry, which is actually, she's my dad's MP.
She's my dad.
She's my dad. She's my dad. It's a twist. Basically, she is on the left, was on the left of the Labour Party. I suppose she still is on the left of the Labour Party, but she's not in the Labour Party because she had the whip removed over, I believe it was around the two-child benefit cap. And her and several other Labour MPs lost the whip. So she announced that she was going to be starting a new party with Jeremy Corbyn, positioned to the left of the Labour Party. And she announced this on social media. But then I believe it was a Times journalist who did it first. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Gabriel Pogand, I think.
Yes. Who said...
Thank you for doing your research, Robin.
No, someone's fucking got to.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, he said
Take your top off. Take your top off. Make a big distraction about it.
So, she announced that she was going to be starting this new party, co-leading with Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah.
Then, for the Times journalist... Gabriel said, as I understand it, Jeremy Corbyn had been in conversations about starting this party. There was no confirmation this was definitely going to be happening. There was definitely no thing that they were going to be joint leaders. And so it seems like Zara Sultana jumped the gun a bit. What was quite interesting about this announcement, obviously we're for Wales, see Wales, so we're going to discuss how this affects and could impact Wales. I think it's so indicative of Corbyn's time leading Labour. It's just chaotic. I'm not suggesting things have been completely great under Keir Starmer,
Sure.
But it is possible to hope that your leaders of parties aren't chaotic. As of recording, this could have all have changed. Jeremy Corbyn put out a statement where he basically said, I'm considering doing this, but what the leadership will be remains to be seen because it'll be a democratic party and you can't just say I'm the co-leader.
Yeah. Although when you've got two people in your party, you could probably see how the votes are going to go.
Well, someone did say
And it's called
incredible.
the Jeremy Corbyn party.
It's incredible that there was a split in a party of two.
Yeah.
It's very
already. It's not the best start.
It's very People's Front of Judea. So how could this affect Wales? So the first thing to say is we haven't got a clue. We don't know because we don't know what this party is going to be. We don't know if it's going to exist. We don't know whether it would run in 2026. But it's really the aim of its appeal is to go after those Labour voters who voted Labour in with so much hope and are really probably distraught that the party has not been the progressive party they were hoping it to be. It hasn't been that instrument for change that was promised. Now, if they were to run in Wales, they would need at least kind of 12% of the vote to win any seats. And I just don't see them getting that. I just don't think that would happen. If it did, it would happen maybe 1-2 places. So they're not going to be a political force in terms of seats. But Plaid Cymru are currently massively making hay off being the party who are the left of the Labour Party alternative. If Jeremy Corbyn's party was to run, the votes they would be taking it from would be probably people who have already left Labour and gone to Plaid.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things, if you're on the left of politics in Wales, you have choices. You have the Greens, you have Plaid Cymru, which both of them support Welsh independence. Maybe that would put people off, but I really doubt how much people really think about things in that detail on any kind of large scale. So actually, what it would mean is you'd reduce the Plaid vote, you might reduce the Labour vote a bit, and it would actually just be really beneficial for Reform. Because Plaid's vote would go down, Reform as a share of the vote compared to the next party would go up, and actually I think it could actually hurt the progressive side of politics in Wales.
Because it's splitting the vote of those people who kind of share that general interest, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're basically eating into the gains that Plaid have made, but probably unable to win any seats.
So if the election were tomorrow and they'd stood, I'm like trying to think where you would expect them to pick up votes. So like Cardiff is a very obvious place they would, but like outside of that, because I do think Plaid have that Welsh language angle that Jeremy Corbyn party, whatever it's going to be called, probably wouldn't pick up in those certain other kind of like Welsh heartland seats.
Yeah.
So outside of Cardiff, where would you see them picking up votes?
I think it has the potential to be quite similar to Reform, in that what Reform have done is kind of pick up the reason they're such a political threat in Wales electorally is that they pick up votes everywhere.
Right,
so
okay.
there's like a base level of Reform support, whether you're rural, whether you're valleys, whether you're city, there is an undercurrent of support for Reform, but obviously the support for Reform is a lot higher than the support for a Jeremy Corbyn party. But what they would do across the board is probably diminish the Plaid vote. By how much, we don't know. They might not even run in Wales. But
they might not exist.
They might not exist right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
but
true.
I do think it was just interesting as a discussion on how these things we need an alternative. And it's like, you do, but if you want an alternative, you need to be coordinated and you have to be aims driven. Like, what are you trying to achieve? Not do you want to be seen to protest what's happening? It's
I think in Wales and in Scotland as well, there is a left of the Labour Party alternative.
Already, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That this is, as you said, this is where people are leaving Labour, going towards Plaid or the SNP in Scotland. I think that's where. Whereas in England, the Greens are pretty much it.
And people might prefer for Lib Dems, like especially in the southwest. I know for Lib Dems, on that big spectrum, you would say are kind of central. But what they might argue is they are socially liberal, compassionate.
They're a vibe. They're
vibes.
They're whatever you want them to be, baby. That's pretty much the Lib Dem policy.
Don't want to go too off on a tangent here, but actually what's really interesting is we think about Plaid and to this extent the SNP is to the left of Labour, but actually traditionally that wasn't always the case.
Yeah, sure.
Both of them were more to the right of Labour at one point. And actually we could do so much on like where Plaid have historically sat, because they've been like kind of all over the place.
I think similarly to what you were saying about the Lib Dems, they have served different things to different people. And I think actually that could be a bit of a bump in the road for them if they do see success in the election next year. All of a sudden that being certain things to certain people can't carry on. If they get into power, then, because they almost satisfied, I think, the slightly Tory-esque farmer vote. But then they can't satisfy them and the left of Labour at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's what UK Labour have tried to do as well in this last election, where I think Starmer was obviously trying to be sort of strong, like Tory light type thing to certain people, and still has continued this policy in terms of things about sort of migrant crossings and about the Bob Villain stuff and things like that. But at the same time, people, I think, trying to vote for that. And I think a lot of people voted Labour, arguably holding their nose a little bit, hoping that they would be, this is just all a ploy to sort of get into power, and then we'll have all these like lovely left-wing policies from their point of view. But obviously this isn't happening, and this is why still clearly people are crying out for some sort of change.
Yeah, I think with the voting, for some people voting Labour, it was like you've been in a relationship for 14 years with the Tories. You just didn't want to be with them anymore. And then you meet this new person, let's call him Sakir, and you think, well, he's different. And you put in your mind you project what you're hoping for onto him because he's saying nothing.
Yeah. What do you think Jeremy Corbyn's image is like in Wales? Because obviously in London, that's very different to like the rest of England. I think in London, kind of, he is a very, very big name. Obviously, like he's a very well-known name, but I would say he's got such a hub of support in London that obviously wider is not the case, but he is still very popular amongst those who are left of Labour, in England. In Wales, do you think he's got much of an image? Like enough to carry the party?
The people who like him really like him.
They really like him.
They really, really like him. People who are going to Reform are not going to think, Jezza's back. The people it will be eating into are those people who are disappointed with that Labour have not been left enough. So, and that's a big kind of electoral cleavage in Wales. We talked about electoral cleavages before. Yeah,
it has Change UK energy, doesn't it? Do you remember that in sort of like the late 2010s? Chuka Umunna?
Yeah, and the electoral... They started off as, what was it? The independent group
Yeah, love that.
which then changed its name to Change UK.
And they announced themselves in a social media post when Twitter was like a really big thing. And they were all sat, I think it was like 8 of them, 9 of them.
Yeah.
They were all sat in a Nando's. Oh, well, because we go to Nando's.
Yeah, they're like us.
People go to Nando's.
Yeah, they get me.
Just lemon and herb, lemon and herb, lemon and herb, lemon and herb.
Plain.
Yeah, plain.
Who was in it? Because that Heidi one was going to really annoy me now.
Yeah, same.
One of the most prominent ones was Anna Soubry.
Yeah,
Oh
sure.
my gosh,
Do you remember Anna Soubry?
Yes.
Yeah, super.
Anne Coffey, Mike Gapes, Chris Leslie, Joan Ryan, and Anna Soubry.
So there was no Heidi.
No,
Have I made
Kate
her right?
Hooley, whatever I said.
Heidi Allen.
Yeah,
Heidi
she was
Allen.
in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Heidi
No
Allen.
Kate Hui.
There was
Thinking of.
Luciana Berger.
Are any of these still in Parliament?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
I don't know. None of the
Sure.
original were elected in 2019.
Chuka, no. Heidi, no. Anna Soubry, no.
None of the original members of Change UK were elected in the 2019 general election.
It's like the Sugar Babes, isn't it? None of
Yeah.
the original ones. But then the original ones are back.
Yeah.
With the Sugar Babes. So these could follow course and do the same.
It's true.
Shall we... I can't even remember what this original thing was about. It was about
Jeremy
Jeremy
Corbyn's new
Corbyn.
party in
Desert.
Wales.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
I want to talk about an issue as opposed to a person walking
That you
awkwardly.
have, or...
No, not that I have.
because you know what? Many men suffer from this. It's completely normal.
Yeah, many men do suffer from it, and I choose to suffer in silence.
Men do suffer in silence with it so much, which is a wonder given how much they talk when people haven't asked.
I keep getting told. I keep getting told to talk about it, and I just don't want to.
If you would like to guess what ailment Will has, then send us a DM.
Send Mel a voice note.
And I'll confirm
Just-
either way.
So,
It's been a silly pod.
It's been a silly,
been a very
silly
silly
pod.
we said we had to get through it quick. Okay, so we've talked about religion on the pod before, in a Darren Miller context. I want to speak about it today in like an education context because you might be aware of this having kids, Robin, but I want to talk about kind of selection of kids for state schools. So a state school is a school which is paid for by the state, and basically it's free for children to go there. As opposed to a private school or, weirdly, a public school, which in the US, public school means one funded by the public, whereas a public school here means what they would call an elite group of private schools.
Yeah, that
which
always used to baffle me
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah. It's weird, doesn't it? It doesn't seem to make sense.
So public school boy is one that went to an elite private school.
Yeah.
Or girl.
A self-defined elite private
Yes.
school.
Self-defined. My favourite type of elite.
To start with, let me talk about 2 projects that the Welsh Government are funding. What do you think is the biggest group, religious-wise, in Wales, according to the last census?
Atheism?
Ooh.
Yeah. So no religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say no religion and Christianity going toe to toe, as they always have and always will.
The long fought battle.
Until the apocalypse.
Yeah.
In 2021, no religion overtook Christianity for the first time in Wales since the census
For the
started.
first time, interesting. What are the numbers?
So 46.5% of people in Wales said they had no religion, compared to 43.6%.
Close.
By the way, you can actually go on the ONS, Office for National Statistics website, and you can look at it based on any religion. Go and have a look at that, and then realise what absolute twaddle the likes of certain people on the right of politics are talking when they say that we're losing the character of our nation. Just get a grip, look at the map.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What a put down. Look at the map.
I want to do a proper thing on immigration and debunking some bollocks I've heard recently, but we're going to do that on a separate podcast.
Cool.
The one where we're not on because we're the bollocks.
Yeah.
Basically 3 percentage points. It's 3 percentage points higher in Wales, the amount of people who are not religious compared to who are Christian. How do you think Wales compares to England in terms of no religion? Do you think Wales has more no religious people, or we'll say atheists for want of a better word, compared to England? Which do you think is less religious?
My gut is that Wales would have more people who don't have religion than England. Just, I think, because England is more diverse than Wales, ethnically and religiously. I would say that there'll be more people in Wales who just identify as no religion. That's my guess. Robin?
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. I think of sort of like almost like chapel culture in Welsh, sort of quite ingrained as well. But obviously, that's just one specific religion. So
you're kind of both right. So Mel's right in terms of literally being right. Robin's right. Robin's right though that chapel culture had a huge part, and still in certain areas does have an influence in Wales, but it has. And was a real key part in defining Wales as separate to England for many centuries. Right. Wales, when it comes to people who define as no religion, is massively less religious. So in Wales, 46.5% of people no religion. In England, it's 36.7%.
That's
almost 10 percentage points difference, which is really, really big. So with that in mind, almost half of the people in Wales are of no religion. It's the largest group of people is those of no religion. So now we're going to talk about the Catholic Church. So the Welsh Government are building 2 schools. One is in the Vale of Glamorgan. They're replacing a Catholic school in Barry, and they're going to increase its capacity, and they're spending £63 million of taxpayers' money on that.
Oh, wow.
£63 million. Hell of a lot of money.
That's a lot of crosses.
It's a lot of guilt. Regret.
They're feeling guilt now, as Will will explain.
I don't think they will feel guilt, but they should.
Right, okay, sorry.
Another school in Flintshire, 4 existing Catholic schools are being amalgamated into a single super school, which will apply to kids from 3 to 18. And that's going to cost £55 million, 85% of which is coming from the Welsh Government. So overwhelmingly that is coming from public money. In both cases, after they construct the buildings, that building and that asset is given to the Catholic Church. They just give it to the Catholic Church.
Okay.
I spent a bit of time last week trying to work out how much the Catholic Church is worth. It's actually a very hard thing to quantify. It's definitely in the high billions. It could be worldwide trillions.
Wow.
In terms of assets that they have. And yet cash-strapped Wales and Welsh Government is giving this institution this money.
Would this apply to other religious organisations as well? Would they do the same for other religions?
Yeah, they've done it to others in the past. They usually, if it's a faith organisation which is running the school, they then give that asset over, which is crazy in my view. For the Vale of Glamorgan one, in the council's documents, they basically said that they needed to do it in order to cater for the increase in demand for faith education. And it's like, well, according to that census, that there is fewer and fewer people doing it. So why are we doing it? Now, there is a demand for faith education. Lots of families want, and even if they're not of that faith. Now, the reason is they're... Go on.
Well, they're good schools, right? This is the assumption. But also, I know friends who are like, oh, we're coming up to primary school age. It's either going to this school, which might not be brilliant, or we go to this one, which is good. So therefore, we're going to go to church for 2 years and go like, no, we love it.
Yeah, we're all about JC.
They go to mass. They go to mass for a few months. Get their child in there. I'm really glad you brought that up because
Thank you.
In Wales, we have it slightly different to England. So in England, faith schools have what's called the faith cap. So schools in... Yeah, exactly. It's on backwards. Schools in England can only select 50% of their pupils based on the faith of the pupil. So if you're a Catholic school, you can have a selection policy. And in Wales, you can say, people who are Catholic get first choice.
Right.
And you can do that for 100% of your pupils. In England, only 50%. Now, this is... I think a good way of doing it in England, because if I was I say a child's Catholic, a child tends to be what their parent raises them. Yeah. A child doesn't come out and go, oh, I'm Muslim to their Catholic, like family does it.
Yeah.
So if I am a child who lives next door to this state-funded and state-built school, and I happen to be of the wrong religion or none, that school can say to me, no, you have to travel 5-6 miles to a different school because you happen to be of the wrong religion. Whereas in England, 50% of children can't be selected based on faith. Whereas in Wales, they can choose 100% on that. This is a double issue because the state, the local authority will pay for children of a particular religion to travel, once it's over 3 miles, to another school of that faith. So if I was raised my kid Catholic, the Catholic school was 10 miles away, the local authority will pay for that travel. If I am not religious or I don't want to send my child to a religious school, they won't pay.
So it's an encouragement to be religious and to choose a religion. How many schools do we have of different faiths in Wales? I'm not asking for like a number, do you know what I mean? But do we have a variety of other faith schools that aren't just Catholic?
The predominant ones are, you have Catholic and you have a lot of church in Wales. Schools. There's also Muslim schools as well, but primarily they're the main ones.
And Islam would be given that building.
Well, the school has the ability to base their selection on faith. They don't have to. Most of them do, but they don't. They have that choice. Now, you know what I was saying about kids. If you're of no religion, the local authority won't pay for your travel. In England, they introduced that they would pay in 2016. In Wales, we're still consulting on it. I think there's a few issues with this. The first one is, I think, having state-funded education segregating communities is inherently a bad thing at a time we're trying to bring communities together. Like, you've got the likes of Reform, we've got the far right who are saying, these people are not your neighbours, they're your enemies, they're taking your house, they're taking your job, they're doing X, Y, and Z. What we're doing as a government and a society is saying, actually, let's allow a school we are paying for to put all the Muslim kids in this school, all the Christian kids in this school, and they will only ever meet if they happen to bump into her in the street. I think that is a terrible thing.
I agree. And I think that one of the key ways to stamp out hate, and it's a long-term solution, unfortunately, and it's not something that you can do, next week, is removing the fear of the unknown. So if there are people who have never met a person of colour in their lives, naturally they're going to only see what they see on TV or what they've heard in the news, and they have not got a point of comparison. Whereas if the people can be like, well, I went to school with loads of different people and that doesn't feel true to me at all, that it's easier for those people to brush off whatever vitriol Nigel Farage and his like are talking about. And I completely agree with you. By separating people or giving them the option to separate or encouraging, even, because this feels like encouragement, we're worsening the problem. And a way of alleviating that would just be encouraging diversity within these schools, not segregation.
Yeah. There's a reason why the parts of Wales that have got the least concern about immigration is the places where there's been more immigration.
And that's across the UK as well, isn't it? I mean, I feel very fortunate that both my primary school and my high school were very sort of diverse and things. Yeah. But then also, if you don't have that, where you're living in Wales doesn't have a particularly diverse population, then, as we said, representation on TV, in art, in culture, that's where you start to see and make connections with people, and that's why sort of representation is so important, isn't it? Also,
that kind of representation is so important to get right.
Yeah.
Because if those people only see the black actor playing a drug dealer, they're going to assume every black man they see is a drug dealer, and it sounds silly when we're banging on about this representation within the media, but it's for those people that it's important. And like in the Welsh media, definitely around 2020, when S4C remembered that black people exist, like literally 5 of us were put on everything, and it was so uncomfortable. It was, and I've spoken about this, a lot. And
really, like, were you conscious that you're being put there because of your race?
100%. And people with really good intentions, because I've said many times I wouldn't have a career if George Floyd wasn't murdered. Like, that's a fact.
Do you really?
Genuinely. And, there will be people who say to me, oh, but no, you're really good, and they say that with good intentions. I'm like, I know, and I was good before he was murdered, but I was given a chance after he was murdered because they were reminded that black people needed representation. And us 5, and there are some guys who do it, but there was like 5 of us girls who were put on everything. And even now, we are mixed up. I can walk down the street, I'm like, oh, I love you on this, and I have to go, oh, I'm not that one, but thank you, or, and there was a very funny incident at Steddfod, not last year, before, where all 5 of us were actually just happened to be sat at the same table, and this guy, it was like the Spider-Man meme of us all like pointing to each other, and this guy came up, and you could see he was like levitating. He was like, how has this happened? Like, how was there 5 of the same person? And that is why it's important to have this mix, but it's changing. It's definitely changing. Like, I do quite a lot of work with schools and so on. I went back to Ceredigion to do like comedy workshops and stuff, and there were kids of all different ethnicities and backgrounds with Welsh names, speaking Welsh. And honestly, I was like, this is beautiful, because I didn't have that, but it is changing. And so increasing that diversity, encouraging it, that should be the priority, right?
If Keir Starmer wants to preach about an island of strangers and stuff like that, the easiest way to stop people being strangers is to have them fucking meet each other.
Exactly.
So
yeah, and we're seeing like mosques in Cardiff, I'm sure this is elsewhere in Wales, having to do like open days almost, to being like, come and have food with us, come and just so that the people who of Cardiff can go and be like, oh, I met them and they're nice. And they shouldn't have had to have done that, but they are doing that kind of outreach. And I'm sure that is across Wales, but this isn't going to help.
I think as we get more and more online, we're having less and less like physical interaction. So if someone, you might have known 5 or 6 of your neighbours in your sort of block of your street or your block of flats or something, you'd know the people around you, whereas it's becoming more insular and we're spending less time out meeting people in real life. We're all still on our phones. So you're not going to have as many of those interactions. I go, oh, I've met this person and they're absolutely lovely. So therefore that's informed my worldview a little bit more, isn't it? So I think that is also a factor in there.
100%.
When you were saying, Robin, about religious schools perform better, at a glance, you're right. Non-faith schools do underperform against Catholic and Anglican schools in terms of grades. Now, I say Anglican because that's Church of England. The reason I'm saying Anglican is because in 2019, the Welsh Government stopped gathering this data. So I'm using English data here, but I think it's cross-comparable. So although religious schools tend to do better in terms of purely on grades, there's a few things to take into account. The first is...
God's helping them in the exams.
Obviously, primarily God is helping them.
Yes, yeah.
Beyond that, which is obviously the main needle mover, they take...
He's so patient, isn't he, with me? He's so patient with me.
He really is. I love how you keep pushing.
Faith schools take proportionally fewer children from poor backgrounds.
Right.
So essentially, the demographic of many faith schools is richer than the community in which they're sat. Now, part of that is because richer parents are much better at playing the admissions game, going along to church, going to doing whatever hoops you need to jump through.
You can afford to do that if you've got free time and you've got money to do that, as opposed to working 2 jobs, 3 jobs to pay bills.
Yeah, and even just the kind of the awareness to do it.
Yeah.
So firstly, poverty is one of the biggest determinants of poor educational outcomes. The raw materials those schools are working with is easier for them to work with. The other thing to say is that faith schools take fewer children with special educational needs.
Right.
24% less in faith schools than other schools.
That's really interesting.
And as you might imagine, generally special educational needs, in terms of resources, you have to invest more in that child. And I'm not saying you should do that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And you'd have thought they'd have the resources to do that within the school, right?
Exactly. Because the state's given them loads of money and building buildings for them. A study by the Educational Policy Institute found that once you adjust for things like prior attainment, deprivation, special educational needs, the gap between faith and non-faith schools is pretty insignificant. So ultimately, these schools aren't doing well because they're faith schools. They're doing well because they're seen as being better and they're able to make selections which other schools are not able to do.
So just like the parents who are sending their kids there are also sort of like almost fudging the numbers in the application process, the schools themselves are doing the same thing.
And they're reaping the benefits of it. So I have a friend who has adopted kids. Those kids, I think we discussed it before, they get looked after children. So care experienced children now. I actually used to work with looked after children. The appropriate phrase has changed about 40 times since I left. So we'll say care experienced children. Don't at me. I'm on your side. Care experienced children in Wales get priority. So if you have been in the care system, you get their parents, guardians get first choice of which school. So, which is good because you think, well, they've had a really tough time. I mean, being in the care system is truly such a challenge in terms of future outcomes. However, whereas state schools have to prioritise children that have been in care, faith schools don't. There is a loophole. So faith schools are able to put faith ahead of being looked after. If I was Catholic, I would get a preferential treatment over a looked after child who has not been Catholic. Now, I went to the Welsh Government over this and I said, how is this fair? Like, basically, they said that schools must give priority to looked after children and previously looked after children of their faith above other children out of faith. So they basically said, schools, if there's 2 Catholic kids and you're a Catholic school and one of them is looked after, you have to prioritise for looked after child. But if you have a looked after child, a Catholic looked after child, a Catholic kid, and then a looked after child who isn't Catholic, that looked after child goes last. But if you have children of the right faith, you should prioritise for looked after children. It's disgusting. And this idea that where they said it must be transparent and objective, that's bullshit because, I swore, this deserves it. Don't at me. I've said that so many times. Yes, I swore. This is bullshit because objective and transparent, it is objective and transparent. Schools say we will prioritise people of our faith ahead of others. It's completely objective and transparent, but the criteria which you're being objective and transparent about are unfair and enable... I mean, if you've got a child that's been in the care system, you're unlikely to be able to jump through all the hoops to get that child appearing the right faith.
Yeah, exactly. The chances of them, like you say, being able to represent as the correct faith for that school are so much less than somebody who is not a looked after child, right?
There's a lot going on here, isn't there? And it seems like a very unfair system, and they can jump through loopholes with certain admissions policies. That's one issue, which you can kind of go, well, if that's the way that you're doing it, fine. But then I don't think you can take state money to back this up. That's where the issue for me, like that's unfair, totally but agree. Sometimes life isn't unfair if it's, especially within a private, you know, whatever. But I think when you're taking state money that could go towards kids, and not to be sort of glib about it, but it's not very Christian.
No,
to think about children who've gone through the care system and then go, well, actually, we're going to pick you. You know, that's not, you know.
Yeah, and we as taxpayers are going to fund you to make that decision.
Yeah.
So in terms of that loophole, 50% of Welsh Catholic primary schools prioritise the faith of a child over whether they've been in care. 50%. When it comes to church in Wales, only 1% of schools prioritise faith. Okay, so...
Oh, wow. So even within sort of...
Within religions...
So it's more of a Catholic school issue.
Yeah, it is.
And
absolutely.
unfairness than it is wider. Yeah, that is hard to defend. That's extremely hard to defend because, you know, sort of like you said, well, like these children are probably the most vulnerable in our society. I don't know, you'll probably know better than me, but I know that certainly up to recently, a child who was a looked after child was more likely to go to prison than to university in the UK. Let's help them.
Yeah.
You know, let's prioritise them.
And take away the humanity element of this. Having children go into care and not fulfil their potential costs the taxpayer loads of money. It is an absolutely worthwhile investment to send these kids to the best possible school that you can. I'm not going to bang out on about this much more, but what I did want to talk about is the issue around recruitment of these schools as well. So faith schools have the ability to appoint teachers to all positions. They have the ability to prioritise the faith of that teacher ahead of anything else. Now, I can probably be persuaded that there are certain positions, if you are a religious school, that you would want the person in that position to be of the same faith as the school. I still don't think it's right, but I can understand it. There is no reason that if you are a school of any religion, your science teacher needs to be of that religion. There is no reason why your history teacher needs to be of that religion. Why does your maths teacher need to be Muslim? If you're in a Muslim school, do they really? And I think this silos all these children. It then puts them only with people of the same view who are also imparting that knowledge, and the taxpayer is paying for it. It's I think it's a real concern. It's something that massively goes under the radar. I mean, I promise you this is the last thing. These schools aren't inspected in the same way that other schools are. So faith schools are inspected by Eston. So for our UK-wide readers, Eston is Ofsted in Wales. So faith schools are inspected by Eston, but religious education is not. So Eston is not inspecting the religious education put forward by these schools. Instead, the churches are allowed to inspect themselves.
Oh, come on. No, sorry. I'm glad you saved that to last because now I've completely lost all respect for the whole process.
That's mad.
No, and this is how things go under the radar as well. This, this is an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be an independent, and you know, even with independent bodies, then things can like slip through the cracks. But not when you've got, you know, let's say interests within that. I
don't think any school should be not inspected, but I think any state-funded school absolutely should be inspected.
100% not self-inspected. Are we not learning anything? This is ridiculous. How are they defending this though? How can they reasonably, with all of this on the wall, go, and that's fine?
Yeah.
I mean, to really understand the role that religious organisations has within education. You have to go back to the 1800s when schools were being started and religion was seen as a vehicle in which to do that. And
we weren't on the podcast then.
No, we weren't doing that.
We weren't doing it then.
We are working through the backlog. Guys. Give us time.
That was just a snapshot of what I think is a really big issue. And I to be clear, I'm not having a go at... I mean, I'm not a religious person myself. And I think organised religious institutions have a lot to answer for, both historically and presently. But, I mean, I have a lot of religious family and I see the good work that their faith inspires them to. We're not having a pop at individual religions, and we're not actually having a pop at the ability of parents to choose how their children are raised. What we're not saying is that religious organisations should be in receipt of huge amounts of public money with no oversight and the ability to deny the most vulnerable in our society access to that state money.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think,
Yeah.
That's a hill I'll die on.
Yeah. We try to be quite kind of like nuanced with most stuff. And I think we try and we try to be fair, and see both sides of the argument. I'm struggling to see the other side of this argument.
I thought you were going to throw a plastic visor on the floor and walk out.
I was going to say, Gareth Davies is at home saying, "You try and be fair, do you? This is an affront to podcasting."
An affront.
We have another live show coming up.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
So excited.
I'm buzzing. It's so it's going to be in North Wales in Wrexham. Am I pronouncing that right?
Wrexham.
Wrexham.
Yes. Yeah.
I think its full name is Welcome to.
Welcome to
sorry.
Wrexham.
Yes.
Saturday the 6th of September at T-Palb. Lovely venue. Tickets are available now.
Go.
They are available now.
Go and get them.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a silly show. We had one in down south a few months ago, and it was genuinely one of my favourite live experiences. Like as 15 years doing comedy.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Do you know what? Never have I felt more like we're actually building something with our listeners.
Yeah.
Like
a community, you might say.
In like it was such a cool thing just to talk about Wales with people who are really invested in it and like kind of learn together, if that doesn't sound too cheesy. It was really
100%, yeah. And kind of prove that, we did like a quiz and certain people were like on it with that. Some people were like learning with me and Robin,
Some people pointing out how I was mispronouncing several Welsh rivers.
We loved that, Come along. It's a really fun show. Obviously, we do the live record of the podcast before, and then also we have just a bit for just the audience.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Oh, there is the stuff that can't make the edit.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it was most of it.
Yeah, to be fair.
Producer Daryl did the Lord's work.
Yeah.
He did.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, and it's a bit like a social as well, isn't it? It's fun. So we'd love to see you all. So if you want to get tickets, feel free to. I believe the link will be in the show notes, or just Google for Wales T-Palb.
Yes, exactly.
We hope to see you there.
Well, Will, you do have a newsletter, and you don't mention it much, so you should give it a plug now.
I have a newsletter next week. I have a big announcement regarding the newsletter as well. Big announcement. But if you sign up, it's called the Will Hayward newsletter. If you enjoy my journalism and want it to continue, please sign up. It's front page my journalism.
You're on tour.
I'm on tour next year. Tickets are on sale now. Some dates are looking quite busy, which is nice.
Brilliant.
Others aren't. Complete disclosure. So you can get tickets on my website, robinjmorgan.co.uk. And if you're going to the Edinburgh Festival, I'm up for a week, the first week of Edinburgh. So I think it's like July 31st to August the 6th. I'm doing 3 shows a day, one of which clashes with the other. So I'm going to be 10 minutes late to one of the shows every single day.
I did see the article.
Silly
I love the way that they've picked up on that. This is big news. Robin hitting the news.
Hitting the news, absolutely. Good fun. So yeah, if you're up in Edinburgh during the Fringe and you can afford £10,000 for a night stay, then come along to one of my shows.
Excellent.
What's going on with you?
I have a book out at the moment called Oedolyn-ish for our Welsh language listeners. If you'd like to have a read of that, that would be lovely.
What does that translate as?
Adult-ish.
Okay.
Yes, which I think is very apt for me, And also it is up for Barn y Bobl, which is like People's Choice Award
nice.
at Wales Book of the Year. So if anybody felt like voting for it, you can go to the link in my Instagram bio and find it there.
Nice.
Please do.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Good stuff.
We'll be back next week.
We will. Very excited to see you all then.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Ta-ra.